Disney has a ton of ways to make sure you have a magical time when you're at the theme parks, but this video isn't about the characters or the rides or the park design. This video is about the cast members and the incredible tools that Disney gives them to make sure you have a fantastic time as their guest. Hi guys, Gio here from Independent Guides. So those of you who've been following the channel for the past few months may have noticed that I've mentioned that I worked at the Disney parks. I worked at Magic Kingdom, at Walt Disney World, and Disneyland Park at Disneyland Paris. So I've managed to experience being a cast member for Disney over 2 different continents. So here I am sharing a peek behind the scenes. So the first way that Disney makes sure that you have a magical time is with Disney University and traditions. So I think this is probably the most important thing that Disney does. It puts every single cast member who joins a company through a day called traditions. Whether you're working in the theme park, whether you're working in an office, whether you're working in a shop. This is held at Disney University. Yes, Disney has its own university. At Walt Disney World, that's behind Magic Kingdom, and at Disneyland Paris, that's inside Hotel Cheyenne. And this first Traditions Day is essentially one huge welcome to the company, unlike any other. The day's called Traditions because it teaches everyone where the company started, how the company started, all about Walt Disney, the founder, his trials and tribulations, and then works its way through the history into the modern huge company that it is today. And I think this is something that every single company should do. Teaching your employees about the company, its culture, and make them proud to be part of the company. Traditions isn't just about history though, despite the name. It also teaches people the company's mission statement today, which is pretty simple. It's "We create happiness." And as well as that, it teaches the fundamental concept of the Disney keys. Disney keys are in order: safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency. And Disney has actually recently announced that they're adding inclusivity to that as well. But going back to the 4 keys as they were when I worked there, essentially safety is the most important thing at Disney. And that's why you'll see cast members being really insistent on telling your kid to get down from the rockwork or off the trash can, for example, during the parade. Disney even has a whole motto for it. It's "Safety begins with me." By the end of your first day at the company, you're genuinely incredibly excited to work there. And you really have this team mentality. You feel that you're all in this together. Second up, more training. I'll make this a quick one, but I cannot emphasize how much money and time Disney invests into its training. You end up spending a week or more learning all kinds of things before being allowed to work with guests properly. So this is classroom-based learning for some parts. So there's a whole day on safety, there's a whole course on how to help guests with disabilities. Just something as simple as saying guests with disabilities instead of disabled guest puts the person first and before the disability. And then there's the on-the-job training. So I worked attractions at both parks, and we would go around the land, we'd see where everything was, we'd ride the rides, we then do a huge amount of classroom-based work. Backstage, we'd learn how the ride worked, and then there'd be on-the-job training as well. So we'd learn every in and out. This could be 6 days, for example, for the more complex attractions. And basically we'd know how to do everything, whether it's someone working fast food, learning how to make a burger and how to use a cash register, or if it's an attractions cast member learning how to start up a ride or how to evacuate it in an emergency. They cover everything. And then at the end of it, whatever job you're doing, there is going to be a test. They call it a checkout. And that just makes sure that you are competent in the job. And then on top of that, at Disneyland Paris, as far as training, at the start of every shift we'd have a briefing, which was usually about 20 minutes. And as we worked in attractions, we very often get asked safety questions during the briefing, almost as a bit of a refresher. So Disney always keeps you up to date, always makes sure you're well trained. Number 3, Disney makes magic for its cast members. From day one, Traditions, Disney tries to make as much magic and pixie dust for its cast members as possible, in the hope that in making you as a cast member have a great experience, that you'll want to do that for the guests. So at Disneyland Paris, for example, this meant that Disney gave us vouchers to eat wherever we wanted that first day. At Walt Disney World, we took a bus over to Magic Kingdom, we got a tour of the park with headsets, and then when we were getting our name tags, Disney made a big deal out of it, as they've got the big cheese himself to surprise us and give us those. And it's not just at the start. Throughout the year, there are special cast member appreciation events where they close one of the parks and they only let cast members in, and the food is free and you get to ride everything and there's basically no queues. As a cast member, you get tickets to get your friends and family into the parks. You get discounts on hotels and food and merchandise, and really big discounts on the cruises and all kinds of things. And again in Paris, we got free meals for Christmas, and every once in a while our team leaders would surprise us We had pastries in the morning, we got unlimited free hot drinks when it got really cold. At Magic Kingdom, we had ice pops in the fridge for us in the summer. Then if you're a Disney Parks fan, you actually get special early previews of the rides before they open to the guests. So I got to ride Ratatouille way before its softs opened. Having said all this, don't think this is some kind of dream working for the company, especially at parks and resorts. You're essentially on minimum wage at most jobs and you're going to work really, really hard. It's a very demanding job. So the next thing that Disney does to help its cast members make magic is that it gives them the right tools. At Walt Disney World, for example, we had something called the Chip Hotline. We just dialed Chip on any internal phone and we'd be connected to a dedicated cast member and we could ask where any of the characters were on behalf of the guests, including some of them that aren't even on the park schedule. Disney always tells its cast members that I don't know is the wrong answer for a guest question. So at Disneyland Paris, every morning we were given a leaflet with the day's park attendance, which restaurants were open, the opening hours, any rides that were closed for refurbishment, and just so much more. At Walt Disney World, we had the similar thing, but it was called a telecast, and it gave us all the same information but for the whole week instead of day by day. Again, at Disneyland Paris, they even had a monthly magazine called Backstage, and that kept us up to date with the company news and the park news and the resort news more generally. And so with all these things, it means that the employees, the cast members, have access to the information they need to make guest visits better, even if that's information you're not going to use every single day. And then there's tools that you don't have to go out and learn anything. They're just there for you to use automatically day to day, but these are things that make a guest day better. In attractions, for example, the big one for us was what we called backdoor passes back in the day. So if a ride broke down while the guests are on it, cast members will give you a backdoor pass to come back later and you get right on without waiting as an apology for the inconvenience. At Disneyland Paris, we had a very similar thing, but we would give the guests a paper fast pass instead of a backdoor pass, but it's basically the same thing. And nowadays, Disney has moved on to Fast Pass Plus, so it's invested the money to take this guest recovery tactic to the next level. So now instead of having to wait for the ride to come back up and then you returning and the cast members having to manually give out these paper passes, they give you what they call a multi-experience fast pass. And that means that you can ride almost any other ride in the park straight away via the fast pass entrance. At number 5, Disney gives its cast members a lot of freedom to make a guest day better and to solve situations. For example, if a guest is running late for their fast pass time, the cast member can override the system. And also in many positions, you're really able to go above and beyond as a cast member. So when I was working at Mickey's PhilharMagic at Magic Kingdom, one of the many positions we had was strollers. And this is where we'd arrange the strollers, keep them neat and tidy. And so one day I have a guest that comes up to me and says that his stroller had disappeared, and honestly this happened 50 times a day. And most of the time it was just one of the cast members that had rearranged the strollers, and so it wasn't exactly where they left it. And so I did what we usually do, we look around everywhere, and actually it was nowhere to be seen. So I called security so that they could get the details from the guest and investigate it. But while the guest was talking to the security, I walked down into the Utilidoors, went over to Frontierland where they have a huge load of strollers, and then brought one to the guest so that at least they wouldn't have to be without a stroller for their kid in the meantime. On a similar level, cast members also have access to a voucher booklet called a No Strings Attached at Walt Disney World, and at Disneyland Paris this was called a Touche de Magie, and this allows cast members the autonomy to basically fix a problem straight away. So if a guest drops an ice cream, a cast member can give them a voucher to get a new one. If a baby is soaked in a thunderstorm, or if a child falls and he rips his shirt or his shorts, the cast member can give them a new one with one of these vouchers. There doesn't even need to be a problem. The cast member could, in theory, just give away a Mickey plush, for example. And at Walt Disney World, at least, most of these things you could do yourself without having to ask a manager or a team leader, whereas honestly at Disneyland Paris, you did have to check for some of these. Number 6, Disney's planned magical moments. And finally, as much as I've just said that Disney gives its cast members a lot of freedom, it also makes sure that some guests are guaranteed to have a magical time. And they do that by planning magical moments into the days of the cast members. At some of the quick service restaurants, for example, they may come and give out treats during the fireworks. At Disneyland Paris, for example, we would choose a pirate of the day in the morning, and they'd get to open the ride, and they'd get some chocolate coins, and they'd get a pass to come back all day as much as they wanted, and they'd get to skip the queue. And I think the king of all of these planned magical moments was when I was working at Philhar, I got to have a little fun with the sword in the stone by the carousel. So I won't say any more than that to preserve the magic, but let's just say I held a lot of power in my hands, and I could really make some guest days when they were touching the sword in the stone. And before you go, please hit the like button to help support this channel. I've got a goal of 50 likes on this video, so let's see if we can hit that. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more Disney, Universal and theme park videos. If you're visiting the Disney parks, check out our travel guide books in the description. Thanks so much for watching. I've been Gio for Independent Guides, and I'll see you in the next video.